Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us at the First Year Assembly 2016. We would like to request that if you're uploading any photos or videos from this happy occasion to Facebook or Instagram, please remember to use the hashtag FYA16. That's hashtag FYA16. A gentle reminder, please switch your mobile phones and other electronic devices to the silent mode if you have not already done so. In a few moments, we will rise to welcome our class of 2020, faculty and leadership. Please remain standing until the entire college community has entered the hall. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is about to begin. Please rise to welcome the ceremonial procession. The class of 2020. now like to invite the chairman of the Yale-NUS Governing Board, Madam Kay Kwok, to declare the ceremony officially open and invite all guests to be seated. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the First Year Assembly 2016. May we now invite Ms. Kristen Linus, Executive Vice President of Administration, to give the welcome address. Ms. Linus, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Governing Board Chairperson, Madam Kay Kwok, NUS President, Professor Tan Chor Chuan, Yale-NUS colleagues, students and friends. I'd like to begin by addressing the incoming class of 2020. Congratulations on your admissions to Yale-NUS College. And while we're at it, let's give a congratulations to your parents. Gaining admission to this school is not an easy task. As you are aware, we receive thousands of applications every year from around the world, and we offer places of admission to 5%. 5%. And it is no mistake that you are here. Through our holistic admissions process, we read every application, every essay, every letter of recommendation. We reviewed your course choices and your grades. We looked at your community service and your community engagement and your extracurricular activities. And we interviewed you and over 1,200 other applicants to get a sense of your personality, your aspirations, and your motivation for Yale-NUS College. And we very deliberately chose you. And in turn, you chose us. And you had choices. You turned down schools in top universities in Singapore, the US, the UK, and around the world. And you made Yale-NUS your ultimate choice. You were likely drawn to Yale-NUS for the innovative curriculum and our outstanding faculty. And you may have been impressed by this beautiful award-winning campus. But hopefully you accepted our offer of admission because you felt confident that this institution and this community was best suited to help you become the person that you aspire to be. We have the good fortune of coming together in an undergraduate community that is like none other in the world. With your arrival, we have for the first time in our short history 4 classes on this campus. We have a population of over 700 students, and we have over 50 nationalities living, working, studying, and playing together. And there are many values that represent our community, such as intellectual curiosity and a sense of adventure. But respect for diversity is the core of who we are. And by diversity, I don't just mean cultural or ethnic or religious diversity. I mean diversity of thought and for the respectful exchange of ideas. You're here because we recognize these qualities and so much more in you. So what does the class of 2020 look like? Your class is 210 strong and the most internationally diverse class we've welcomed to date, representing over 40 nationalities coming from 123 secondary schools. More than 70% of the class is from Southeast Asia, including Singapore, and the remainder from regions around the world, ranging from Argentina to Russia, Canada to New Zealand, and everything in between. As you would expect, the academic profile of this class is outstanding, with grades and test scores as higher than the previous classes. But it's hard to reduce this amazing group of students to statistics. Amongst your class, you have published authors, successful entrepreneurs, competitive athletes, and accomplished artists. You have privileged individuals who have committed their lives to improving the lives of others. And you have young adults who have overcome amazing obstacles to get an education and improve the lives of their families. Whether you're Singaporean living next door or international coming from 1,000 miles away, you've chosen to join our community of learning, and we are so glad that you're here. As a fully residential program, our faculty and students learn not only in the classroom, but in community settings. To date, we have about 50 student organizations registered with our Dean of Students office, representing a broad range of interests. Some of the most active and noteworthy associations we have are the Yale-NUS International Relations and Political Association, which focuses on politics and diplomacy through Model United Nations conferences. We have G-Spot, a gender and feminist alliance and awareness group, and Kids Accomplish Enrichment, which provides enrichment classes for local primary school students following the liberal arts form of education. We encourage you to not only participate in these organizations, but to also come and bring interests of your own to the population. Each of these clubs was formed in the last 3 years from the motivation and engagements of students just like you. Our Center for International and Professional Experience will also provide a wide range of opportunities for public interest, internships, social impact fellowships, and study abroad programs. Each year, students participate in learning across boundaries excursions that have brought them to Paris for the United Nations climate negotiations, to Kerala for a series of arts and writing workshops, and to Kyoto for exposure to Japanese Mahayana Buddhism, just to name a few. As you can see, you will not be at a loss for opportunities to engage with others, broaden your interests, and expand your horizons. My only advice to you would be to take advantage of this time in your life when you can expose yourself to so many amazing, diverse subjects and interests. You never know where you will find your passion. And we have this experience from your upperclassmen. Over 50% have declared majors that are different than the intended major that they put on their application. This breadth of experience is at the heart of a liberal arts education. It's how you develop a global perspective and a critical mind. At Yale-NUS, our aspiration is to educate citizens of the world who will become the next generation of leaders and change agents impacting society. And I am confident we are one step closer to achieving that goal with the enrollment of the class of 2020. So on that note, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, President Pericles Lewis.
Governing Board Chairperson, Madam Kate Kwok, National University of Singapore President Tan Chor Chuan, colleagues, friends, students. Our theme for our first year assembly this year is that Yale-NUS is home. And I would like to start by saying to all of our first year students, welcome home. We do want Yale-NUS to be your home for the coming 4 years. Students who have been with us for 1 to 3 years are eager to welcome you tonight at the candle lighting ceremony. Our faculty look forward to engaging with you in the classroom and office hours in the dining hall. You've already met many of our student life and other professionals who want to help you shape your time here and indeed help you think about the type of person you want to become and how your education will fit into your broader goals and purposes in life. All of us want you to feel at home here on this magnificent campus and in this community. At the same time, I want to emphasize a slightly different theme, which is that even though we think of Yale-NUS as a second home, we do not expect this home always to be comfortable. Just as in any family, disagreements may arise. And living with an extended family of students, faculty, and staff from over 50 different countries, with a wide range of views, experiences, and customs, you may sometimes find yourself outside what we have come to think of as your comfort zone. This is not a bad thing. An important part of education is being exposed to views and ideas and even ways of life that challenge your preconceptions. This does not mean that you need to take on board every idea that your professors or fellow students propose to you. It is your job to approach the new ideas you will encounter with an open mind, weigh these perspectives and arguments, and come to your own conclusions about matters that will have great importance for you and your future. Of course, some types of learning admit of more debate than others. It is unlikely that in your first year you will disprove any major accepted scientific theories. But even though science is a complex set of theorems and processes that takes a long time to master, it is also indeed a process to which you can all contribute. In time, if you pursue science to the highest levels, you may make distinctive contributions and perhaps even introduce new perspectives that change what we think we know about the natural world. I encourage those of you with a scientific bent or who discover a scientific bent that you didn't know you had to work with a faculty member as a research assistant in the lab or in the field and try your hand at the expansion of knowledge. In my own field of literature, the situation is somewhat different. Many people feel that judgments about literature, art, aesthetic judgments in general are primarily subjective, and therefore that any one person's opinion is as valid as any other. The reality is more complex than that. Your professors and other experts have knowledge and understanding of distinctive features of aesthetic experience, whether these are literary or musical structures, historical context, or nuances of language or artistic technique, that specially qualify them to teach in these fields. At the same time, it is undeniable that in the humanities, the subjective element is extremely important, and partly as a result, they are a particularly fruitful area for the early stages of a liberal education. Each student, each reader or listener or viewer brings his or her own experiences to the work of art, and those subjective experiences are a valid and important criterion for judging the works that you will encounter. In a good humanities seminar, you will have the opportunity to test your own experiences and responses against those of your classmates and professors, and thus to learn about the intersubjective nature of humanistic truth. Between the humanities and the sciences lies a vast area of intellectual and human endeavor in which questions of agreement and disagreement can be particularly vexed. I'm thinking here primarily of politics, but to some extent other social sciences like economics or psychology or sociology or humanities like philosophy or religious studies share some of the characteristics of politics. Here, people's convictions about justice and about the place in the world are central to the subject of study. And therefore, when it comes to the social and political world, sometimes the conflicts can be particularly intractable and lead to disputes not only in the classroom, but in the halls of the college or on the internet or in the broader world. And indeed, the experiences you have in discussing these issues with your classmates will reflect your experiences outside the college. I hope that you will engage in debates and discussions about political and social matters. A liberal education has traditionally, since ancient times, meant an education appropriate for free citizens. This does not imply that everyone with a liberal education will come out on a particular side of political matters, liberal, conservative, socialist, or what have you. But it does imply that one of the goals of your education is to make you more thoughtful contributors to society, people who can engage in reasoned discourse with others about the way you want your nation or the global community to develop. And we want you to develop into active and thoughtful citizens. Unfortunately, in the world around us, it is impossible to ignore the signs of intolerance in much of public discourse. The forces of aggressive nationalism, fundamentalism, and division seem to be on the ascendant in many political systems. And we've all wearied of the terrible violence that we've seen throughout the world in the past year. Yale-NUS can do but little to counteract these forces directly, but I remind you of a part of our mission statement, in Asia for the world. We hope that during your time here you will take on that broader global perspective and work for change, whether in your own communities or internationally, in order to build a society that is more just and above all more peaceful. Each of us will have our own ideas about how to attain those ends. But I think that we all share the view that peace and justice are important underpinnings of any future world that you, our students, would like to inherit or would want to build for future generations. In doing so, I hope you will keep in mind the importance of respect and tolerance for the views of others. Sometimes we become so convinced by the justice or righteousness of our own views that we risk unnecessarily trampling the feelings of others, or more insidiously, creating an aura of soft censorship in which people feel unfree to express dissenting views. A Yale-NUS education should allow for an unfettered and respectful exchange of views. A related challenge for students is the desire to see the world remade right away. This comes from an admirable place. The thirst for justice makes some young people impatient. But for the most part, except in cases of extreme injustice, progress comes gradually. Almost a century ago, at the end of the First World War and in the context of the abortive revolutions of 1918, the German sociologist Max Weber said in his lecture on Politics as a Vocation that politics is a strong and slow boring of hard boards. It takes both passion and perspective. In other words, you can work for change, but you cannot be sure that the change you are seeking will come quickly, or that once it comes, it will resemble what you thought you were campaigning for. A more recent political thinker, Michael Oakeshott, in his lecture of 1951 on political education, offers a complementary metaphor for politics, drawing on the ancient image of the ship of state. He writes, in this gendered language of 1951, "In political activity, men sail a boundless and bottomless sea. There is neither harbor for shelter nor floor for anchorage, neither starting place nor appointed destination. The enterprise is to keep afloat on an even keel. The sea is both friend and enemy, and the seamanship consists in using the resources of a traditional manner of behavior in order to make a friend of every hostile occasion." It seems to me that this passage, which describes political life, is also highly relevant to your college education. You are setting out on a journey. None of us knows exactly where it will end. Unlike Oakeshott, I'm optimistic that it will end well. And I hope that you are optimistic too. But I cannot tell you exactly which way to steer. We will provide you with some of the equipment and the techniques to keep afloat, and we will certainly provide support if ever you feel that you are out of your depths. We will hope for smooth sailing. But ultimately, in the words of a Victorian poet, you are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. And that is what a liberal education is all about. Thank you for joining us. And on that note, it seems appropriate to introduce the president of your student government, Regina Lee.
Good afternoon, Yale-NUS Governing Board members, President Lewis, distinguished guests, parents, faculty, staff, and to the class of 2020. Congratulations on surviving your orientation and taking your first steps into college life. In writing this speech, I thought a bit about my own orientation 2 years ago. It was mostly a blur, but I remember feeling like every moment was full of significance. There were so many new and interesting people to meet, things to understand, places to discover on the campus, and so many readings to do. I felt, as I'm afraid you might, a constant fear of missing out, because it felt like the first few weeks were going to define my 4 years here. If I didn't meet certain people or get involved in certain groups, I may not get a chance to later on. But today I'm here to tell you that while the first few weeks seem really important, your journey at Yale-NUS is not a sprint. It's not even a marathon. It's more like a hike, where you might have to take detours because of a fallen branch, a landslide, or just because you like the view at the other side of the mountain. The decisions you make today and the coming weeks, which student orgs to join, who to hang out with at lunch, what to do with your free time, they need not stay the same for your 4 years here. So one of my good friends now is someone I genuinely dislike at the start, because he was so loud. But it's a good thing I never told him this though, because we became good friends later on. When I first came to Yale-NUS, I was sure that I wanted to spend 4 years working for the student newspaper. It's what I had really enjoyed doing in junior college and secondary school. Student government, I had little love for the scrutiny of such a public role. I much preferred doing the scrutinizing myself as a news reporter. And yet, after writing numerous articles about the student government and keeping a close watch on them, I decided to run and serve on the council myself. It was a very unexpected journey, but one that was rewarding and with its own set of challenges, like having to speak in public today. The spirit of the liberal arts is one of exploration. Perhaps for some of you, the reason for choosing Yale-NUS is so you will not have to choose your major for the next 2 years. But don't let this flexibility to grow and to explore be limited to your academics. Today I ask you to give yourself the space to grow in your time here. This means allowing yourself to try new things. It means allowing yourself to change your mind about what you're interested in or what defines you. It means giving yourself the room to make mistakes. It means realizing that your first theatre production may not be the best, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. So we had quite a number of theatre productions here last year by people totally new to the theatre scene. And what it means, we have a more core crop of more experienced theatre people here this year. But amateur theatre productions don't happen in isolation. When there are amateur productions, there need to be people willing to support and attend them. So as much as you are giving yourself the space to grow, to explore, to make mistakes, realize that your peers, they are doing the same as well. So give them the support they need, and be kind to them when they make mistakes. As they innovate, we will. This is a lesson that I'm not sure our community has fully learned yet. We are a young college built on great idealism. As the founding classes of students, we lay the foundation of student culture at Yale-NUS. So there's a strong sense of hope and idealism that invigorates our community, as I'm sure you might have realized. But this striving for perfection can sometimes mean we are hypercritical of each other. When a student group makes a mistake, for example, or has a radical idea that may not be politically correct, there have been times where they face strong backlash from the rest of the community. This doesn't have to be the case. As a young college, you're a startup college, many things are being done for the first time. Some require a few tries to get right. So I urge you to support each other in your journey here and be kind when others make mistakes. Go for the tea sessions, productions, sports matches to support from and learn from other student orgs. If you have an idea on how they could do better or you think they did well, let them know. Give feedback to the many committees that we have, like the dining hall committee, who is very responsive, and since food is really important to us. Well, so many students come here wanting to start new clubs. Well, I encourage you to do this. Realize that there are many other important ways you can support the growth of our community. One way is to give feedback to the student government. So I was asked to talk a bit about the student government in my speech here, so you must forgive me for this plug. Before we had the student government, we were a small community of about 300 students, where students would directly approach staff, faculty if they had feedback. But as we grow larger, and we finally reached full house today, there is a need for a centralized body to organize and act on that feedback. So for example, sometimes we do get contradicting feedback. For the science common curriculum, so like scientific inquiry, FOS, we have students who want to be taught in more depth, with more rigor, while others want it to be more accessible because they're new to science. So it's our role to synthesize that feedback, understand what the school is currently doing, and advocate for student interests. So students here really care about the school and how it will develop. I'm sure that this spirit of actively participating in the community and genuinely loving it will continue to thrive with your class. On behalf of the upperclassmen, today I welcome you to the Yale-NUS College community. Today the rest of your 4 years here begins. Remember to be kind to yourself and allow yourself the space to grow here. But more importantly, remember to support each other, because it's a journey that you're taking together. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to governing board members, Madam Kay Kwok and President Tan Chua Chuan, President Lewis, senior leadership, faculty, college staff, upperclassmen, guests, and class of 2020. My name is Benedict. This is Yam Chong. This is Nathaniel, and this is Arjun. Today we'll be performing 2 songs for you to commemorate the start of our journey in Yale-NUS College. And a side note to my sweet mates, I promise never to sing these 2 songs ever again.
Mike.
This is If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys. fortune. Some people live just for the fame. Some people live for the power, yeah, yeah. Some people live just to play the game. Oh, some people think that the physical things define what's within. I've been there before, but that life's a bore so full of the superficial. Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Some people live for the fountain, promises forever young. Some people need 3 dozen roses, and that's the only way to prove you love them. Listen, babe, hand me the world on a silver platter, and what good would it be with no one to share, with no one who truly cares for me? Some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If it ain't you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. Oh, some people want it all, but I don't want nothing at all. If I ain't got you, baby, if I ain't got you, baby. Some people want diamond rings, some just want everything, but everything means nothing if I ain't got you. That was If I Ain't Got You by Alicia Keys. The next song has been performed for every class of freshmen for the last 3 years, and it also holds a special place in my heart. My hope is that in time to come, all of us will be able to call Yale-NUS our second home. Composed by Dick Lee and originally sung by Kit Chan, this is Home. Whenever I am feeling low, I look around me and I know there's a place that'll stay within me. Wherever I may choose to go, I will always recall the city, know every street and shore, sail down the river that brings us life, winding through my Singapore. This is home, truly, where I know I must be, where my dreams wait for me, where that river always flows. This is home, surely, as my senses tell me. This is where I won't be alone, for this is where I know it's home. When there are troubles to go through, we'll find a way to start anew. There is comfort in knowledge that home's about its people too. So we'll build our dreams together, just like we've done before. Just like the river that brings us life, This is home, surely, as my senses tell me. This is where I won't be alone. For this is where I know it's home. This is home, truly, where I know I must be, where my dreams wait for me, where that river always flows. This is home, surely, as my senses tell me. This is where I won't be alone. For this is where I know it's home. For this is where I know I'm home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, this is Yam Chong on the guitar and backup vocals, Nathaniel and Arjun on the cajon. I would now like to welcome on stage Assistant Professor of Social Sciences, Dr. Anju Mary Paul, nominated by students to be the faculty speaker for today. Dr. Anju, please.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, class of 2020, families, guests, members of the governing board, staff, students, and faculty of Yale-NUS. This is the first time that a welcome speech by a faculty member is part of the first-year assembly, and I was incredibly touched when this year's orientation committee gave me that responsibility and honor. I was asked by the committee to talk to the class of 2020 about the learning journey that you are about to commence today. So let me tell you, orientation is over. The fun and games are done. School is now in session in our living and learning community. Today, you cross a threshold. The last time many of you were here, you were our guests during EYW. After today, you will be our family. What can I share with you about your new family and this place that you will call home for the next 4 years? We are small, but we dream big dreams, much like this island nation that we live in and its aspirations for its next 50 years. We are young, but we have a proud heritage from our two founding institutions, Yale and NUS, dating back more than 100 years on either side, spanning 2 continents and many rich cultures and traditions. We are not Yale in Asia, and we are not NUS Light. We are Yale-NUS, and we are incredibly comfortable and proud in our small liberal arts college in Singapore skin. In fact, we relish being different. Not better necessarily, but certainly one of a kind. In our difference and our diversity, we find freedom and richness. In our intimacy, we find the opportunity to learn from one another. We are here, all of us, to improve ourselves, mentally, physically, spiritually. But recognizing how much we have been given, we understand that our responsibility is to give back, and give back even greater. We feel a higher calling not only to improve ourselves, but also our world, intellectually, economically, ecologically. We do that first, here and now, through the pursuit of learning. These will be the most intense 4 years of learning that you will ever experience in your life. I guarantee it. Here is a preview of some of the lessons that you will learn during your time at Yale-NUS. You will learn about yourself and what size mind you have, to quote The Catcher in the Rye. You will learn how to defend your ideas and your ideals with vigor and grace, with evidence and eloquence. You will learn to question your ideas and your ideals, because it is through inquiry, exploration, and experimentation, not blind faith, that we push the limits of our knowledge. You will learn about your world, its past, present, and possible futures. You will learn to stop seeing this world in simplistic binaries of black, white, male, female, east, west, north, south, citizen, foreigner. You will learn how to read, to truly read, to delve deep into a text, a work of art, a conversation. You will learn how to see and how to listen. You will learn how to make yourself heard and be understood. You will learn that there are many ways to make a difference in the lives of others, and you will learn what your way is. You will grow, you will scale heights that you never imagined, and you will fail. Surprise, surprise, many times you will fail. And you will learn that failure is a lesson too, and every lesson makes us better. That last one is from Game of Thrones, for those of you who are Thrones fans. And so, because I only have 1 more minute left in this speech, let me borrow one more thing from Game of Thrones to end my welcome speech. In the same way that the new recruits of the Night's Watch take an oath when they first join the Brotherhood, I would like to start a new tradition with you, the class of 2020. I ask you to swear this pledge with me as you join our family today and begin this new chapter in your lives. And so, class of 2020, please stand and repeat after me with vigor and with conviction. Ready? Okay. We are a community of learning. We are a community of learning. Founded by two great universities. In Asia, for the world. We are Yale-NUS. Thank you very much. Now your watch has begun. I now hand over to Dean Bridges for his closing remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, governing board members, Yale-NUS leadership, faculty and staff, families and parents. And hello, class of 2020, how you doing? You guys good? You've made it. You made it through 2 weeks of orientation. You've survived. The folks on your left and your right are still there. So you're doing well. We talked about 2 weeks ago, you starting to build your own shared reality amongst yourselves and with the people in this room. You're now fully in that process. And we've heard a little bit this afternoon about what that's going to look like moving forward. So I'll continue to ask you to think about how you're contributing thus far and how you want to contribute to that shared reality, to this community, moving forward. Now, I also only have a couple of minutes to speak, and I'm going to give you one back, so don't be surprised. So once again, I'll ask you to put your feet on the floor, and put your hands in your lap, sit up in your seat, and breathe in. This is your first year assembly. This is the class of 2020. I'm going to wrap up and ask you to remember a couple things moving forward. As you know, you're special, partially just because 2020 sounds cool to say, but also because you're the last of the first. And before you know it, you'll be telling incoming classes after you stories of the beginnings. You made our full house. And in 3 years, you'll be talking to first-year students about what it was like when you're the smallest class instead of the largest class. Keep it in mind. Remember when you get worried about stepping into those classrooms that you have your own personal set of data, right? Which is your life and what you've accomplished thus far, what you've survived or are surviving, what you've gotten through and how you've gotten here. And if you look back at that data, it suggests you're going to be just fine and do really well. Keep it in mind. Remember you're making choices. Remember to prioritize. We use the word busy a lot, but you're not. You're not busy. You're making a choice. Make it intentional. You're choosing one thing over another. That will be your experience throughout. Finally, remember your note card that you wrote on about why you're here. Look back on that. Whether you're having a great day or a hard day, look back on that. Remember the reason why you're in the seat now, and it will help get you through the next pieces. I want to conclude by talking briefly about a great thinker, in my opinion, and some students, and how it's pretty much the same thing to me. Marcus Aurelius said, "Confine yourself to the present." And I had the great fortune to work with two upper-class students who really worked on this with me. And it was real simple. They would ask each other and me what time it is. What time is it? Right now. That's the answer to that question. Confine yourself to the present. We've talked a lot about what's happening next. But I want you to take in each moment, and I want you to be aware of where you are now, where you are tonight, and what's happening. So when I ask you what time it is, it's right now. So for one last time from me, class of 2020, welcome to Yale-NUS College. Welcome home.
Before we end the ceremony, we would like to share with you all the college's very first institutional video. Please sit back and enjoy.
Yale-NUS College, a vibrant community of learning, inspiring a new generation of thinkers. We are an exciting diversity of people who reach across boundaries to learn from the best of Asia and the world. Yale-NUS College, founded by two great universities, Yale University and the National University of Singapore, draws on the strengths and histories of its parent institutions.
Well, it's actually quite different.
Our curriculum challenges our students to explore and embark on their own learning journeys, to discover their passions and to realize their dreams. We are creating a culture of creativity, curiosity, and big thinking. One that will inspire each Yale-NUS graduate to make a difference in his or her world. We are a place for the meeting of minds, where colleagues, classmates, and friends learn together and teach one another. Not just in the classroom, but over conversations in the sky gardens during the heat of day, or during late-night excursions to the butteries in the cool of night, all made livelier with a global community of thinkers who call Yale-NUS their home away from home. Knowledge curated on the college grounds is then put to test in the real world. Each Yale-NUS student returns home with broader perspectives and widened horizons. We are more than an institution of learning. We are inspired to think big and to make a difference. We are encouraged to question, to seek bold solutions for a better tomorrow. We are a community of learning, founded by two great universities, in Asia for the world.
We hope you all enjoyed that. Class of 2020, you can look forward to being in future videos. So thank you all for coming to the First Year Assembly 2016. We hope you have enjoyed the ceremony this afternoon and hope to see your photos and videos on social media under the hashtag FYA16. That is hashtag FYA16. After the ceremonial procession takes its leave, we would like to invite everyone to a tea reception that has been set up at the cafe area. Family members and guests, our student ushers will guide you to the reception area. Class of 2020, please remain in the hall for your first class photo before proceeding to the reception. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remain standing as the ceremonial procession takes its leave. Class of 2020, please be seated. Guests, please proceed to the reception area. Thank you all for coming.